Folks, okay if we record? Jeff,
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I'm Jeff Sharp. I'm in Chandler, Arizona.
welcome.
Nice.
Bridget?
Sure. I am Bridget and I'm in Chicago.
Bridget, are you in
Welcome.
a car?
I am. I just finished an appointment, so I came down and I'm not driving. I'm just sitting in my
I'm just
car.
concerned because it's cold. I'm in Indianapolis.
Oh, you know what? I appreciate your care. Right now I'm okay.
Okay. So I'm Hallie. I'm also part of Mendful, and I'm in Indianapolis. Um,
I'm
David.
I'm David, also in Kenwood with Gel.
Demetrius.
Hello, I'm Demetrius. I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, wow. Bringing up the middle of the country. Lisa.
Hi, Jill. I am from Wisconsin, West Bend, Wisconsin, and we just had what 6 inches of rain, snowfall last night.
Oh my gosh.
Right there with you in Chicago.
Is that Lisa Purdue?
Yes,
Oh my gosh, we've been talking on the on
online
on
for a little
on the
bit.
LinkedIn. Well, welcome everyone. So this is Mendful. This is our one of our four intro workshops. And it is this one is attunement. So that's what you're here for. You're in the right place. Um, is it okay with folks if we use your email address, if we send you things for future? If not, email Hallie or text Hallie here, and she'll take you off. She'll make sure you're not on the list. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to share my screen so that I know what the heck I'm talking about. Before I do that, I want you to know that I sometimes talk with my hands, and if you see this, I'm not bleeding. This is a pterodactyl tattoo that came from my new 4-year-old friend at a party last weekend. But I realized it could look, I shocked myself when I looked at it. It could look a little gory. So let me go ahead and share.
They start tattoo artists young these days.
Seriously. So we established that you're in the right place. We said our names. This is an overview of what we're going to do today. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Mendful app and the training curriculum, and then we'll do an introduction to attunement. And we'll have two exercises. I call them invitations because everything is optional in cultivating relational attunement. And we'll talk about how today's workshop fits in with the rest of the workshops and the full training. We'll do a quick evaluation, and then we'll have a Q&A and any thoughts that you have and want to share. And then we'll officially end it. But if you want to stay on and get more info on the app or the logistics of the Mendful Core Competencies Immersion Training that starts in 2026, do you think we could have made that title any longer? Geez. And that's what we'll do. So let's start with an overview of the Mendful app. The Mendful app we're designing to provide conflict resolution on demand that is human forward and AI supported. Our aim is to help turn conflict into reconnection and to help prevent estrangement, violence, and worse. And we really want to provide right livelihood opportunities for certified coaches. We'll say a little bit more about what makes this whole thing different from what's out there a little bit later. In the meantime, here are some of our early screens. When you download the app, you'll see something like this. If you're a customer who wants conflict resolution now, and you can talk to a human coach immediately, or you can browse who's available, or you can talk to Mendy, our AI coach that we haven't built yet, but will. Or you can browse our library that we're starting to build, which will include DIY mini courses, videos, and so on. You could send a video to someone, say, hey, maybe we could have a conversation like this. So our secret goal is to seed the collective consciousness with alternative ways of being with each other that engender connection instead of disconnect. And it's a freemium model. The first 20 minutes of AI are human help is free, and then it's billed like a call, like per minute. And if you decide to browse coaches, you will see something like this. This is me. The rest of these are fake profiles. When you take the Mendful Core Competencies Immersion training and you certify as a Mendful coach, we encourage you, if you want to pick a niche that you can develop on the platform. For example, Jamal is into helping friends reconnect. He calls himself the Friendship Whisperer. Michael works with men. He has men's groups, and he helps men to reconnect with their hearts. Sandra's specialty is helping Asian moms and daughters reconnect over generational and cultural differences. So she's really dialing into the immigrant experience. If you were to click on the full bio link for any of these folks, and you notice that they're away, but you can schedule a session, you would get something like this. My bio is pretty generic. Here, I'm probably not going to be working as a coach on the app because I'll have too many other things to do, but you could meet any of the other coaches in a short video. You can browse blog posts. You can see their feedback, and any of these can expand. Eventually, we'll have seminars and podcasts and such right there on the app for folks to expand their thinking and let others get to know them. And we want the sessions to be something where the visuals convey a sense of being held, not like these sort of Brady Bunch square boxes that we have right here on Zoom. And we'll also have bells and whistles. So because we're on a small screen, people might not be able to see, or because some people might be neurodivergent and not be able to understand how someone's feeling just by looking at them, little emojis. That's just one example. And when we do the training, we'll also be testing the app in the first cohort that starts in February. So those folks will have a chance to weigh in on what bells and whistles are useful and which are not. So here are the things that are different about Mendful. I'm going to go through these quickly, but you can also go back and we'll send out a link to the deck. This is the first on-demand, human-forward conflict resolution app. Right now, you can get a human on demand, 24/7 for a ride share, for food delivery, for psychic services, and even for webcam entertainment. And we think that conflict resolution is at least as important, if not a whole lot more important than those things. So that's why we're building it. I have a background in tech and also in all these, for want of a better word, psychological connective threads that I can talk about later. And this training has a strong pillar of nonviolent communication, NVC, based on the work of Marshall Rosenberg. Also includes multidimensional approaches to body, mind, spirit, and emotions. Because we think conflict doesn't just happen in the mental realm, it also happens in embodied ways and spiritual ways. And so we want to equip the coaches to work with all of that. It's different from traditional slow therapy or legal adjacent mediation. And we've designed the training itself to build community and to support the folks who are in the groups along the way, because we're bringing our own conflicts to the practice sessions and getting help along the way. We also get a chance to practice being the kind of help and healing and repair that we want to see in the world. It's a collaborative effort, especially in the early stage. We're not just a marketplace. We're not people competing against each other, but we're sharing best practices, supporting each other's growth, and collectively elevating the quality of what we're offering. We are going to be much greater than the sum of our parts. And we're really serious about creating fair compensation for practitioners. It's sad to me. I feel sad seeing that advanced degree therapists on sites like BetterHelp only earn like 40 to 70K annually. We want to provide a healthy six-figure salary for full-time practitioners and a living wage even for part-time folks. So that's what's different about Mendful. Another thing that's different is when we're moving from not knowing something to knowing something, it can be a stage. You don't know what you don't know, like with driving, it's maybe a 5-year-old doesn't. And then you're aware of what you don't know. You're in the conscious incompetent stage. And then when you get to conscious competence, sometimes people stay stuck there. And so we want to foreground the fact that people know already a lot about how to attune and about how to be there for other people. And so we want to support trainees in leaping into that flow state and then bringing in the skills along the way without getting bogged down. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a session with a practitioner of one kind or another, and when I'm getting to a point where it feels like I'm getting somewhere, things are getting intense, it seems like they're getting anxious. And to manage their anxiety, they start doing their modality. They go back down into the conscious competence realm. And so we want people to be in the flow state. And we'll say more about that a little bit later, but that's one of the things that's different about how we train, is we want people to be able to leap into that so that we have something like this, where we're leaning into a field of love and spaciousness. And we have empathy and we have compassion and we have attunement, but we're not letting any one of those things sort of get out of balance. And I'll give you an example, something that I wrote recently. So bear with me if you've already heard it. When I was taking my nonviolent communication mediation training some years back, I was so super excited about it. And I wanted to share what I had learned and put it into practice because I thought it would make me better at empathy. And so I was talking with my best friend who had often said to me that you, meaning me, you, Jill, give the best empathy. And I wanted to give even better. She was talking about an issue she had with a friend of hers. And I said, in the style that I was taught, are you feeling frustrated because your need for respect was not met? And instead of deepening into empathy, she yelled at me. She said, don't do NVC on me. And I was really taken aback because I thought that I was giving something more. But instead, by moving into that space of conscious competence, I had taken away from me, from this center, because I went too far. Maybe some of you have had an experience of somebody is giving you so much compassion that you feel smothered, or so much attunement that you feel self-conscious. Anyone have any examples of any of this getting out of balance in any way? We can keep going. So, like I said, we think you already know, all of you, about attunement, that we're naturally wired to attune to each other. You see this in children. Unfortunately, this can get stomped out of us through conditioning by gender, culture, and other things, teaching us to distrust and dismiss this innate, what we call internally referenced way of knowing. And if we don't get that right kind of attunement, it can leave us isolated. So this is our first invitation. Let's take a look backwards. And I'll give an example of this, and then we can, we're a small enough group that we could stay, but we can break up into pairs and come back so you have a chance to really drop in. When you were a child, how were your expressions of feelings like anger, sadness, disappointment, what we typically call negative feelings, how were they treated? What, if any, kind of attunement or not did you receive? And how has this impacted how you have attuned or not to your own feelings? And how has this impacted how you have attuned or not to others' feelings? When we go into the pairs, we'll pause the recording. Let me give a demonstration. So we'll get into pairs, and one of you will be the speaker and the other will be the listener. So Hallie, will you be the listener for me while I do this exercise?
Of course, I'd love to.
Okay. So when I was a child, I'll pick one type of feeling. When I was sad and I cried, I was either ridiculed or sent to my room. And the way that impacted how I've attuned to my own feelings back then was that I really tried not to cry because I didn't want to be ridiculed. And how that impacted how I had attuned to others was that I remember making fun of my best friend when I was 8 because she was crying, and now I feel bad about that.
Oh.
However, in my early 20s, I started doing co-counseling, reevaluation counseling, And that was based on a cathartic model. And I learned that it was actually good to allow my feelings to come forward. And I learned how beautiful it was to be attuned to by someone else. And I learned to attune, to other people's feelings as well. So thankfully, I got resources to reverse the impact of not being attuned to.
I hear what you're saying.
Thank you. So were folks clear on the invitation? So you'll be invited to go into rooms. If you'd rather not go into a room, if you'd rather just journal or think about it or something, you're welcome to do that. Just let Hallie know. Otherwise, we'll stop the recording. She'll put you into rooms. You'll have about 3 minutes each, and then we'll come back and harvest any learnings or insights.
And I'm also going to put the link to this slide in the chat.
I think you should open it now because once you go into the rooms, I'm not sure you'll be able to see the chat.
Okay, let me do that.
Meaning for everyone else who's about to go into the rooms.
Okay, so that's the slide. And I'll open all the rooms. And you're welcome to go in. Kathleen, did you not want to be in a room? Hi, Ashish. I know you didn't want to be in a room, but Kathleen, are you there?
It was, an abnormal event.
You thought it was what, Diana?
I thought it wasn't more abnormal event. And it's not. It's almost routine.
Hot. Are you saying that when Mercury's in retrograde, you do see a pattern of things?
No, I'm saying that as I used to use it as a joke, and then I looked it up, one day to see if it was in retrograde right now. And then it said it's going to be in retrograde at this point in the year, this point of the year, this point of the year, this point of the year. Like it happens all the time.
Ah, fascinating. So welcome back, everyone. Let's take a few shares. What was that like? Anything surprising, distressing?
Well, I don't know if you added more time, but I think when we first went into groups, I felt like the time was going to go too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I really felt like it was a luxurious amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very appreciative. I felt like my partner asked such great follow-up questions. And it came from, I think, feeling deeply heard first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the feeling heard and held then allowed the curiosity to feel like an invitation.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Who is your partner?
My partner was Jeff.
Jeff. Wow. Thank you both. Anyone else like to share?
I'm surprised how quick, like I feel like I did get to connect with Bridget on like a very quick but also a deep level, just the questions and the span that it went over life, so it was talking about young to mid to what we're doing now. And to me, that was very interesting because I was able to go deep in a short amount of time. Was a very interesting conversation on both sides.
I want to riff on something you just said. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
The deep in a short amount of time, that mirrors what we call a fast, slow approach to conflict resolution, where if you go deep enough, you can get to the heart of things pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's another thing that we want to do is go from the sort of surface, the story, the spinning, all kinds of things. What are you actually feeling? What's actually true for you? And when two people can connect at the heart, it's one of Marshall Rosenberg's key insights. He was the founder of nonviolent communication. When two people can truly deeply hear and understand each other, the resolution just kind of comes. So that's what we want to do. That's what we want to make available to people 24/7. Any other shares? You ready for
Jill, I
the
worked with
go ahead.
David,
Uh-huh.
and he asked me some very good questions regarding, my childhood, which, my childhood was based on not expressing feeling and holding it in because you were just a child and not allowed to express your opinion or anything, and leading into the quite the opposite, where David had the capacity to be open and honest and share his emotions with his parents, which he felt like he had a really great upbringing, which is a blessing in so many ways because his parents were attuned to their children's inner emotion and connectivity with their parents, which in his background had built really good communication system.
Mhm.
In my aspect, even with the way that I expressed later on in life was through anger and a punching bag, and then going to the gym to get out those emotions, those difficult expressions, and then ending up in a field where I had to suppress my emotions. Otherwise, it would look as though or appear as though to others that I was weak if I expressed the emotion.
Wow. Beautifully noticed. I love listening to those insights. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for having the whatever it takes to jump into this with somebody who might be a complete stranger. And for those of you, who are listening, to make it safe for the other person to do that. So that's a taste of what we're trying to do here. And I just love what's happening in this room. So let's go to the next thing. Second. That's actually not where I want to go yet.
So the recording is going back on, just to let everyone know.
I think it went back on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about reaction patterns. And a reaction pattern is something that our body does when a stimulus hits our system. Have any of you seen these before? Heard anything about them? So Wilhelm Reich first noticed, I think he called this muscular patterning. There's a lot of words that have been used, and not everybody's going to fit all of these, and they're certainly not fully descriptive of what happens to all people all the time. However, when I first encountered this in 1999, it was like a whole new world of awareness had cracked open, and I was able to give myself things that I hadn't been able to give myself, adjust my behavior in the world to align more with what I wanted. So I found this body of work incredibly powerful, and different teachers have taught it in different ways, but I'm going to abbreviate it here and we'll get a chance to work with it. So the theory goes that there were 5 different patterns. One of them is known classically as schizoid. I don't like these words: schizoid, oral, masochist, psychopath, and rigid. So different people have created different names over the years, and these are ours. Antenna, what happens, and I run this pattern, I didn't know it until after 1999, but early on something happened, or maybe we came in with this tendency, but often early on something happened where it felt so unsafe that we just kind of left our body. We put our attention to, the airwaves, to art, to ideas, anything but being here. And I didn't realize this when I used to come home and my then partner would say, "Jill, you leave energetically." And I'd say, "What are you talking about? I'm just playing online Scrabble." And then when I took Linda Cicera's energy class in whenever it was, 2016 or something, and we learned more deeply about these patterns, I learned that not only am I running this connector pattern, but also this one where I leave and how to come back into my body. This one is also known as oral. Compensated oral is a version of it. The connector pattern is where we, instead of leaving or putting our attention to something else, we put our attention to someone else, a person, their needs coming before ours. We sort of shrink or fail to pay attention to what's going on for us. This, what's called masochist and other traditions, the mountain pattern, such people can ground a room because their attention is way down in the ground, but their attention is way down in the ground because they learn to sort of disappear. So it's kind of a mixed bag, and they can sometimes have trouble mobilizing their own energy forward because it's down in the ground. The warrior pattern is sort of like a superhero or a cobra. The energy is coming up and out. You see this in a lot of men and some women who run the country. I see what I want, I'll take it, I'm going to have my way, period. So it's sort of the opposite in a way of the mountain. The orderer pattern is known as rigid, and this pattern tends to have the person who's running it acting appropriately rather than authentically, and kind of putting things into boxes, being very rule bound. So let's take a look at how this maps onto some of the terms, and how it maps onto some other things. I'm make sure we have enough time here. So in the Neo-Reichian character structures and in the Barbara Brennan book I worked with, these were the terms. A colleague of mine, Stephen Kessler, wrote a book called The 5 Personality Patterns and used these terms instead of the original ones. At Mendful, we use these. These are things I've been using for a while in my Wisdom of the Body practice. And it roughly maps onto trauma responses, but it's not the same thing. A trauma response is a heightened version of some of these patterns, which are kind of more everyday. So let's look at one of these examples, the orderer, aka rigid. So we're going to look at one example here, and we're going to play with it some. Like a lot of these patterns, the orderer pattern develops in response to something that happens in childhood. In this case, it might have meant that survival meant following rules. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be in response to something that happens. Some kids are born just very organized and wanting to live a rule-bound life and being very good at helping others do the same. They might become accountants or librarians. However, they might also feel something empty on the inside where they don't get to just be messy. They don't get to just play, because whatever has them creating order in the world also has them not making room for stuff that doesn't fit into that order. And a real gift for that person might be permission to let loose and find this freedom and delight. Let's take a look at some examples in popular culture. Anyone recognize any of these folks?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Hermione liked everything to fit into boxes, and she was about trying to make the world that way. Sheldon, that's one of my favorites on The Big Bang. Anyone else think of any other examples? So let's play with this some, yeah? Let's dive a little deeper into the orderer, and then we'll do a scenario where I'll explain it afterwards. So basically, you deal with someone who is running this pattern, and you find a way to work with them that actually works for the pattern. So this is a very abbreviated version of diving deeply into empathizing with what someone running this pattern wants and needs, what they seek, and what will work for them. So this pattern wants to know where everything belongs, how it adds up, how it stacks up. And they fear going outside of that order. So what's easy for them is working inside established systems or schema, following the rules and so on. And what they might feel challenged by is the chaos of improvisation and pure creativity. So if you're working with someone like that and you want them to feel safe, you give the pattern a path to follow that does feel safe, right? They could get very upset if you go way outside that and give them something that's open-ended. And they might dig in their heels. They might get even more rational, go up into their heads and start to blame other people. And ultimately, to heal this, if they would so choose, they do need to develop trust in others in the messy rhythms of life. But most people are probably going to die with this pattern instead of it, and they're not going to be interested. Most people are not interested in deeply challenging what has helped them to survive their whole life. So instead, we work with that. We work with the strategies that people are deeply attached to, and then if and when they feel ready, they release those. A doorway in, a way to talk to somebody who's running this pattern, is to come to them with the problem to solve. That's what will help them move forward in a way where they don't feel threatened. So with
Jill,
this very, yeah.
before you go on, Ashish, I think, is asking a question. Would an
Oh,
order be like a leader of a religious institution or any kind of system?
they might. So the reason I call these reaction patterns, or they're really somatic patterns of attention, like what happens in your body, where does your attention go? The reason I like to call them that and not personality patterns like some people do is that I don't think they're about personality. Like, to me, personality is like, are you trustworthy or not? Do you have a sense of humor? Or, that kind of thing. And these don't tell you anything about that. I mean, it is kind of personality, but it's more like, how does their body, their nervous system approach the world? And within that, there's infinite variation. So I don't know. It's a long-winded way of saying that. So let's play with this. Checking the time. So let's take an example of a past interaction, either public or private, where you notice someone running a pattern like this and another person reacting defensively or argumentatively. You can borrow this situation if you want. Let's say you park someplace and then someone else approaches you and says they had their turn signal on already before you pulled in. So they're appealing to the rules. So if you have your own situation, think about a time when someone around you was really adhering to the rules, trying to create order, and someone else was reacting defensively. So the invitation is to replay what might have happened if you had brought more attunement to the pattern and the human expressing that pattern. So have one of you play the role of the person running the pattern and the other providing attunement to that person, and then switch. Let's give an example. Hallie, will you work with me again? So Hallie, let's take, what's that? Let's take the parking example. Why don't you come up to me and say, hey, I had my turn signal on before you pulled into that spot.
Okay. Hey, I had my turn signal on before you pulled into that spot.
So what I might have done ordinarily is like, wow, well, this is a really crowded parking lot and I didn't see you and I'm in a hurry. But I'm going to try tuning to the pattern and say, wow, so you had your turn signal on.
Yeah, didn't you see it?
I didn't. You had your eye on that spot and you were really letting me know that you intended to go in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I am really sorry about that. And I didn't even see that. And if I had seen that, I definitely would have driven on by and let you go into that spot.
Okay, well, you didn't, so.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm really sorry about that. Let's assume it's a crowded parking lot. It's really impractical to pull out and they wouldn't be able to get in anyway. So what am I doing here? I'm relating to their relation to the rules and how important that is to them. Okay. Any questions about that before we go into pairs? We'll give you 5 or 6 minutes. And Ashish and Seta, do you want to be in your own little group?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do
We're
that.
going to
Yeah.
pause the recording and Hallie's going to put you into groups. Then we'll come back and harvest.
So for clarity,
Welcome back. So instead of a random share, I want to have a more focused share. I just saw this note from you,
Yeah,
Bridget.
sorry for my note. Jeff and I were right in the middle of a thought, and I just wanted him to know the last thought before we moved on. So that's why I put that in the chat for him.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Let me do this. This is sort of a leap into the future. If we knew what our own patterns were and how to come out of them into our best version of presence, how might that impact our quality of attunement to others? If we could tell what pattern someone else was expressing and what that pattern needed to relax and help the person feel safe to open up, how might that impact the quality of attunement and the relational field between you? And these are big questions. I don't expect definitive answers at all, but just given what you just did, any thoughts? And by the way, I can't see the chat, so please, if you want me to hear something, say it.
Jill, we were talking about working with, I had a coworker that was extremely OCD and perfectionist, so very much tended to the orderly. But this person wanted everybody else to be on the same page and be orderly. So then they would go leave their lane and then go and force other people to hurry up on their stuff or sign their stuff off when you weren't even done with that assignment or whatnot. She would just go ahead. And we were discussing that in session. We kind of, I mean, all I could kind of do with this person is say, I respect the fact that you're really done with all your things. You're highly acute to getting your things done. However, you got to understand that other people are getting their things done at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And that can't really be forced on others, even though I give you so much credit for you getting your stuff done.
Yeah, yeah. So I need to ask because we're farther along than I had anticipated. Are folks okay if we go over by about 5 minutes? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Any other shares?
What if the person you're negotiating with is so highly dysregulated that attuning to them would be abandoning yourself?
Ooh, I'm going to give you a
Ooh.
short answer. I'm going to give you a short answer to that. And that is what we teach in the program is a model, which I don't have in this. I don't have in this deck. I have it in another deck where I'll be very brief here, but I'm happy to stay on and tell you more, where you basically come into your core, push out everything that's not you so that you literally are full of yourself and your own love and your own peace. And you become very acutely aware of the difference between you and someone else. But within that bubble, you're running love and acceptance and spaciousness. And so it's the opposite of abandoning yourself. It's tending to yourself and filling yourself with all that you want to be. And believe it or not, that can actually help even multiple people in a room who are dysregulated come back into regulation. So that's the short answer. And there is a simplicity to it. It's not necessarily easy to do. It takes practice.
I think there's actually a slide in here that
In
refers
this
to,
one?
yeah, I think so.
Not, I don't think in this deck, but if you can find it, tell me what number it is.
25.
All right, let me keep looking here. But so basically, again, we want to help folks kind of leap into the flow state. And that what I just described is one way of doing it. This is not what I just described, but it's similar. And so for the attunement part, it's the exercise that we just did is bringing the skill of attunement into this heart, this place where we're in flow, we're leaning into the field. And Hallie, if you have that graphic, if you can bring it up, I don't think it's in this particular one. With the human in the bubble.
I thought you were talking about the pyramid, but I'll find that.
The only thing I've found personally that worked is abandoning empathy and compassion and just being so unmoved by their baits.
That's one. So like you were bringing,
you just totally emotional and it's hard. And
yeah. So this is one way. I think what you're describing is similar to the mountain pattern. Like if somebody's running this one and they're they're warrior and they're dysregulated. I've also experimented sometimes if somebody's running, it's also called the psychopath pattern, and meeting them with that. And sometimes that works to bring them down because that's what the pattern understands and respects.
are you saying that if your default is, say, I don't know, the psycho one, but you see someone in a different space, you might adopt certain mountain patterns to address that? Okay.
I'm saying that once you know how to use these patterns and embody them when it serves you, you can be strategic about how you show up. I don't like to use the word energetically because it has so many meanings, but how you show up with your patterns of attention. Like if you're in a room where there's total chaos, you might choose to put all your attention down into the ground. Watch what happens in the room when you do that.
So I put a picture in the chat of where you end, like your edge.
Uh-huh.
And that's from a different workshop. So Demetrios would love you to come to that one. Or anyway, so that's the picture. I don't know that it does justice just putting the picture there without explanation.
I can go to the chat. Actually, you want to share your screen, Hallie?
Sure.
I think that'll help. Let me just have it.
Hold on, let me find where okay.
You know what? Let's give it a moment before you do that, because I wanted to say that if we step back 10,000 feet, that the way that we approach the training is with these self in relation to self skills. How do we show up? Because that's going to impact how we show up for others. And that's all going to combine to help us do fabulous conflict resolution. We didn't talk about this in terms of like how I lost my train of thought. Never mind. There's a lot to it. And we just gave you a slice of it. But so we spend a lot of time with self in relation to self. So that, for example, if you grew up and you continue to disown your sadness or your anger because it was never accepted, there will be a limit to how much of somebody else's sadness or anger that you can experience. So we will help you love and accept all that is within yourself, help you not abandon yourself, but rather care for yourself exquisitely so that you can transmit a field of love and spaciousness and acceptance that will help without you even saying a word. It will help other people just relax their defenses, which is a much easier place from which to solve a conflict with someone else. So the rest of the 1 hour workshops are the basic introduction, empathizing with the quote unquote enemy, and concepts, models, and philosophies is what we wound up calling this one. We'll have some more put up soon if you want to come to any of those. Now that you've been to this one, come as my guest to any of the others. Just let me know. I'll put you in the invite. Let's send the evaluation around at the end. Would you please fill it out? A lot of times if we send something out later, people don't do it. So we make them do it but we're towards the end. And I want to make sure that I cover this, which is you can take another of our 1 hour workshops, use the link, use the code Mendful Guests. The ones I just mentioned. Hallie's going to put these links in the chat. You can learn more about the Mendful Core Competencies training, which starts in February. And this is the flagship training. This is the maiden voyage. Those words, oh my God. Where you get to being on the ground floor. It will be imperfect. It will be messy. We're going to have lots of fun. We will bond. We will do all kinds of things. And you'll get to help shape the app. And it's going to be cheap because we're subsidizing it by 60%. And this one is going to be all remote. The one in July will be in person. So you can learn more with the link that Hallie put in the chat. And you can apply for either the February remote training or the July in-person training to become a conflict resolution coach on the app. And then, sorry. And then once you apply, I'll reach out and set up a one-on-one with you. We can talk about whether it's a great fit. So I'm going to end officially. It is now over. You are free to go. However, I'm going to stay on and talk with anybody who wants to and go over these logistics.
Just to differentiate, because I didn't realize this is how they're going to copy and paste. The first form is the one to apply as a coach. The second form is the evaluation. It says evaluation on my end, but it doesn't on yours. So my apologies.
Yeah, we really value your feedback about these workshops, and I'm continually trying to make them better. So if you could take 2 minutes, you could do the evaluation right now. You could stay and talk. We're going to keep the Zoom open for a little while longer. Any questions or thoughts, or I can go over the details of this.
Thank you, Jill. I got to run, but this was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Saru. Look forward to
Bye,
talking
Ru.
to you soon.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for the invite.
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. Good to see you.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
Yeah, I also have to run, but I definitely like to follow up. So
Okay.
email's great, or however.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Demetrius.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thanks, everybody. I have to sign off too, but I'm filling out the evaluation right now, and then I'll send it your way.
Thank you so much, Bridget. It's really great to meet you.
You're welcome. It was
Thanks.
great to
Stay
be here.
warm.
Thanks so much.
Joe, are there any kind of requirements or prerequisites for becoming a coach? Or like, do you have to have therapeutic background or anything like
No.
that? Okay.
So, these things are not taught in therapy school, most of them. Yeah. If I interviewed somebody and it seemed like they were not capable of compassion, I would think they probably wasn't a good fit, but I already know that that's not true of you.
Yeah, it's a different approach, you're packaging like this better concepts, way better than what I've seen, and it's really cool. So I appreciate being invited on here, and I definitely am interested in following what you're doing and seeing how seeing where it goes, because it's pretty incredible.
Thank you. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, from my point of view, the long story is I've been on like a 10-year healing journey, and the first 7 or 8 years were really rough, touch and go type thing. And I've been through kind of every scenario as far as therapy or medication or healing, or I started for many years through the path that was the normal Western med way. And it really came down to the biggest things that I are the biggest jumps in my healing were from finding people who had been through it, who were empathetic, who actually understood what was happening, who was not tied down to what the way people are doing things, but was open to the concept that humans are continually learning more and understanding what we knew 20 years ago isn't anything close to what is available in knowledge now. So I really like when I look back at my journey, the biggest jumps were when I met somebody who had been through it. And, you know, whether it wasn't a doctor, usually it wasn't a it wasn't a therapist. It was typically somebody who had been through it. And for every person you find that had been through it and made it, I don't know how many dozens or hundreds of people who didn't make it. And so they're incredible. Like when you find someone who's on the other side, they're they're already pretty incredible, you know? And I think they're kind of the best people to have to lead in these conversations and you know really put that out there.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons we want to make room for folks to build their own niche on the platform so we can provide culturally relevant, life experience relevant, age relevant resources for people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's huge. I mean, you look at it, I mean, there's all the conversation about patient experience and patient data and all this, but really what it comes down to is if you look at a person's healing journey and if they had to go from A to B and it took 10 years, but it's actually doable in 1 year, then we're not doing that person any good. So any of these stats or data around patient experience or any of that doesn't matter unless you look at one person individually and see how, you know, how did they get to A to B and was that optimal? Because a lot of healing, it can be quick given the right tools.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I am so curious about your experience and really eager to talk with you more if you're,
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, that'd be great. I've been following your content for a bit and seeing what you're putting out there. I've been really excited to see where you
Oh,
go with it.
good.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Do you have any interest in becoming a conflict resolution coach yourself, or you're more appreciating what's happening?
No, I do have a little interest in that. Yeah, I want to see where it goes. I it would be good to to help people because it's really hard. It's really hard when when you jump in and try to help. And this is I work with a lot of medical and physicians and really the burnout rate right now is really terrible. But nurses have never complained about working long hours. It's the fact they're, in my opinion, it's the fact they're not getting done what they know they should be getting done for the patients, and that will burn you out over time. Even if you're a rule follower and you're staying within it, that's going to be the weight that takes you out, you know, is going against what you know and what you learn.
You mean because they're understaffed or
Well,
under-resourced, or why are they not being able to do for the patients what they need to?
I mean, if you talk to a doctor right now, they'll flat out tell you that you know 10 minutes is not enough to see a person. But in order to make the numbers match up, I get 15 minutes with the person, and I need to do my best for that.
Mm.
And so we can kind of demonize the medical world, or we can listen to the people that are actually on the front line doing it, and they're sitting there saying, "We don't have enough time," you know, but the numbers don't add up. By the time you do all the insurance and you make the business actually make sense and profitable or wherever it needs to be, then there's no one-on-one time. But a
I
model,
see. I understand. I want to
yeah,
also make sure that other folks have a chance to weigh in if they are. So you want to wind up your thought for now?
yeah, no, that's pretty much it. I like what you're doing. It's been amazing. Thank you for having me on, and I do look forward to seeing more.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to meet you. Great to see you.
Thanks, Jeff. I wrote you a quick note in the chat.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Diana, Ashish, Sada, any
I'm just hanging out by the teacher, seeing what people say.
Ashish, Ashish, Seda, anything? Ashish, I saw that you came off mute for a moment, so I wondered if you wanted to say anything.
Also, Ashish, I know it's probably midnight where you are, so thank you so much for joining us. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
seriously.
it. You and Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. Is
Yeah,
it
we were
midnight
just
there?
hanging out. Yeah, it's close to midnight,
Wow.
and yeah, trying to gather as much information as possible. So we're trying to hang out to just hear the conversation. Yeah,
It's so lovely to meet you,
that will help
Seda.
us
Did I
for the
say your name
clarity.
correct? Sorry, I think there's a delay.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's not my worries.
Having a hard time hearing you, but I'm really glad you're here. Well, why don't we officially close? Thanks so
Dan.
much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, Joe and crew.
Thanks.
Thanks.